Hello there, and welcome to Whispers of Science, where the cosmos gets contemplative and curiosity wraps itself in stardust. Tonight, we're embarking on a journey to the very edge of everything we know, and perhaps a little beyond. We're going to explore one of the most mind bending questions that has ever tickled the imagination of astronomers, philosophers, and anyone who's ever looked up at the night sky and wondered what lies beyond the observable universe. Now, before we drift into this cosmic mystery, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from tonight. And when you look up at your patch of sky, what do you see? Stars, city lights, perhaps? Just the gentle glow of distant street lamps fitting, isn't it? That here we are scattered across this pale blue dot, each of us gazing outward into the same infinite darkness, yet seeing it from our own unique vantage point. If you find this gentle voyage through the cosmos soothing, intriguing, or simply a nice way to let your mind wander, after a long day, I'd be ever so grateful if you gave this video a like and perhaps subscribed it. Helps this little corner of wonder reach other curious souls who might need a moment of cosmic perspective too. Now, I do hope this isn't so fascinating that it keeps you awake, but if it does, well, at least you'll have pondered the deepest mysteries of existence before you drift off to sleep. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's begin our quiet exploration. Because somewhere beyond the furthest galaxies, beyond the most distant light that has ever reached our telescopes, lies something we can only dream about. The universe, as we know it, has boundaries. Not walls, mind you, but limits to what we can actually observe. And these boundaries aren't set by the reach of our telescopes or the cleverness of our technology. They're set by something far more fundamental: the age of the universe itself and the finite speed of light. Imagine, if you will, that the universe is like an enormous theater, and we're sitting in the very center of this cosmic auditorium. The observable universe is simply how far we can see in any direction before the curtain of time itself blocks our view. It's a sphere with Earth at its center, stretching roughly 46.5 billion light years in every direction. Now you might be thinking, wait a moment, if the universe is only about 13.8 billion years old, shouldn't we only be able to see 13.8 billion light years in any direction? Well, that's where things get deliciously complicated. You see, the universe hasn't been sitting still while light has been traveling toward us. It's been expanding, stretching like a cosmic balloon, being slowly inflated, so that light from a distant galaxy that left its home 13 billion years ago has been traveling through an expanding universe all this time. By the time it reaches our telescopes, the galaxy has been carried much, much further away by the expansion of space itself. It's a bit like trying to catch a train that's not only moving away from you, but the tracks themselves are stretching as the train travels. This creates what we call the particle horizon, the furthest distance from which light has had time to travel to us since the beginning of the universe. But here's where it gets truly mysterious. What lies beyond that horizon? What exists in the regions of space that are so far away that their light hasn't had enough time to reach us yet? The short answer is, we simply don't know, and perhaps more unsettling, we may never know. At least not directly. It's one of the most profound limitations of human knowledge. We live inside a cosmic bubble of observable reality, and everything beyond that bubble remains forever hidden from our direct observation. But just because we can't see beyond the observable universe doesn't mean we can't think about it. Doesn't mean we can't use the tools of mathematics, physics, and a healthy dose of imagination to explore what might be out there, waiting in the cosmic darkness. The first possibility, and perhaps the most straightforward one, is that the universe simply continues more of the same galaxies, stars, planets, and perhaps even life stretching on infinitely in all directions. This is sometimes called the infinite flat universe model, and it suggests that if you could somehow travel far enough in any direction, you'd find more cosmic real estate, much like what we see around us. In this scenario, our observable universe would be like a small patch of ocean viewed from a boat. You can see to the horizon in every direction, but beyond that horizon, there's just more ocean, more waves, more of the same endless expanse. It's a comforting thought in some ways. The idea that the universe is not only vast, but truly infinite, filled with an endless variety of cosmic stories playing out across impossible distances. But infinity is a strange beast to wrestle with if the universe truly is infinite and filled with matter. Then somewhere out there in the unobservable regions, there would be copies of you, copies of Earth, copies of our entire observable universe. It sounds like science fiction, but it's actually a serious consequence of having infinite space filled with matter. You see, in an infinite universe, every possible arrangement of matter, no matter how unlikely, must occur not just once, but infinitely many times. There would be planets exactly like Earth, with people exactly like you, living lives exactly like yours, but also versions where you made different choices, where history unfolded differently, where the colors of sunsets are just slightly more blue. It's called the many worlds interpretation of an infinite universe, and it suggests that somewhere beyond our cosmic horizon, there's another version of you listening to another version of this video, perhaps in a universe where the laws of physics are subtly different, or where chocolate tastes like vanilla and vanilla tastes like starlight. But what if the universe isn't infinite? What if it has an edge, a boundary beyond which there's simply nothing at all? This possibility is perhaps even more mind bending than infinity because it forces us to confront the question, what does nothing actually mean when we say there's nothing beyond the edge of a finite universe? We don't mean empty space, because empty space is still something. It still has the potential to contain matter and energy. We mean true nothingness, no space, no time, no possibility of anything existing. It's a concept so alien to our everyday experience that our brains struggle to even grasp it. Imagine standing at the edge of existence itself, looking out into pure non being. It wouldn't be black, because black is still something. It wouldn't be cold, because temperature requires space and matter to exist. It would be the complete absence of everything, including the very concepts we use to describe absence. Some cosmologists have proposed that our universe might be like a bubble floating in a higher dimensional space, a finite region of reality surrounded by something else entirely. This higher dimensional space wouldn't be empty, it would be filled with what we might call the multiverse substrate, the fundamental background from which universes can emerge. In this view, our entire cosmos, with all its galaxies and stars and planets, would be just one bubble among countless others, each bubble potentially having its own laws of physics, its own constants of nature, its own ways of organizing matter and energy. Some of these bubble universes might be similar to ours, while others might be so alien that we couldn't even recognize them as universes at all. There might be universes where gravity works differently, where time flows backward, where the speed of light is much slower or much faster, where the very concept of matter as we understand it doesn't exist. There might be universes with different numbers of dimensions, where space has seven directions instead of three, or where time splits and branches like a cosmic river delta. The multiverse hypothesis suggests that beyond our observable universe, there's not just more space, but fundamentally different kinds of space operating under different rules, playing out different cosmic stories with different actors and different plots. It's like a cosmic library where each book is an entire universe, and our observable cosmos is just one page in one volume of an infinite collection. But how could such bubble universes form? How could our cosmos be just one among many? The answer might lie in the very beginning of everything, in those first fractions of a second after the Big Bang, when our universe underwent a period of incredibly rapid expansion called cosmic inflation. During inflation, space itself expanded faster than the speed of light, stretching tiny quantum fluctuations into cosmic sized variations. This process might not have happened uniformly everywhere. Instead, it might have created a patchwork of regions, each inflating at different rates and eventually becoming separate bubble universes in this eternal inflation model. Our Big Bang wasn't the beginning of everything. It was just the moment when our particular patch of the multiverse stopped inflating and began the more sedate expansion we observe today. Meanwhile, other regions continued inflating, spawning their own bubble universes in an endless process that might still be happening today. So, beyond our observable universe, there might be an infinite foam of bubble universes constantly being born through the process of eternal inflation, each one potentially harboring its own version of reality, its own laws of nature, its own cosmic story. It's a vision of existence so vast and strange that it makes our observable universe seem almost quaint by comparison. And yet, even the multiverse might not be the end of the story, because there's another possibility, one that pushes the boundaries of imagination even further. What if, beyond our observable universe, beyond even the theoretical multiverse, there lies something so fundamentally different from reality as we understand it that we don't even have words to describe it? Some theoretical physicists have proposed that our entire cosmos, including space and time themselves, might emerge from something more fundamental, a kind of cosmic source code written in the language of pure mathematics or information. In this view, everything we experience, every star, every planet, every thought you've ever had, is really just a pattern of information processing in some vast computational system. It's a bit like discovering that what you thought was the real world is actually a sophisticated simulation running on some unimaginably powerful cosmic computer. But unlike the simulations we create with our technology, this wouldn't be an artificial copy of reality. It would be reality itself, information made manifest as the universe we know and love. This leads us to one of the most profound questions in all of cosmology. What is the true nature of existence itself? Is the universe fundamentally made of matter and energy, as we've long believed? Or is it made of something more abstract like information or mathematical relationships, or perhaps something we haven't even begun to imagine? Consider for a moment that everything you've ever experienced, every color you've seen, every sound you've heard, every emotion you've felt, is ultimately the result of patterns of information in your brain, electrical signals dancing between neurons, creating the rich tapestry of consciousness. And if that's true, then perhaps the entire universe is just a much larger version of the same process, patterns of information creating the illusion of matter, space, and time. Beyond our observable universe, then there might not be more space. In any sense we could understand, there might be pure information, pure mathematics, pure potential waiting to be collapsed into reality by the act of observation itself. It's a vision that would have delighted the ancient philosophers who believed that mathematics was the true language of the gods. But let's step back from these dizzyingly abstract possibilities and consider something perhaps even more mysterious. What if beyond our observable universe, there are regions where the very concept of beyond doesn't apply, where the normal rules of logic and causality break down completely? We're so accustomed to thinking in terms of here and there, inside and outside, before and after that, we rarely question whether these concepts are truly fundamental or just useful approximations that work within our local cosmic neighborhood. But at the edges of reality itself, these everyday concepts might become meaningless. Imagine regions of existence where cause doesn't precede effect, where objects can be in multiple places at once, not through quantum superposition, but through some even stranger principle, where the very notion of identity breaks down so completely that asking what exists there becomes a question without meaning. Some cosmologists have speculated about what they call topological defects in the fabric of space-time itself, places where the smooth geometry of our universe becomes twisted, knotted, or torn in ways that create pockets of truly alien reality. These cosmic scars left over from the universe's violent birth might be windows into realms where physics, as we know it, simply doesn't apply beyond our observable horizon. There might be regions where time flows in circles, where space has impossible geometries, where the distinction between observer and observed collapses entirely, creating realities so strange that even our most abstract mathematical descriptions fail to capture their essence. And then there's perhaps the most humbling possibility of all, that our entire framework for understanding reality is so limited, so provincial, that we're like flatland creatures trying to understand a three-dimensional world. We might be asking the wrong questions entirely, using concepts and categories that only make sense within the narrow confines of our cosmic bubble. What lies beyond the observable universe might be something so alien to our way of thinking that we couldn't recognize it as real, even if we could somehow perceive it directly. It would be like trying to explain color to someone who has never seen, trying to describe music to someone who has never heard, trying to convey the concept of love to a being that has never felt. This isn't just intellectual humility, it's a recognition that consciousness itself might be a very local phenomenon, a particular way of organizing information that happens to work well in our corner of reality, but might be completely irrelevant or even impossible in other regions of existence beyond our observable universe. There might be forms of awareness so different from ours that they wouldn't even register as consciousness to us, and we might not register as conscious to them. We might be as invisible to these alien forms of awareness as radio waves were to humans before we learned to detect them. But perhaps the most beautiful possibility is that beyond our observable universe lies not just more complexity, but also more simplicity, not just stranger forms of reality, but also more elegant ones. What if the chaos and confusion we see in our cosmos, the seemingly arbitrary constants and laws of physics, are just the messy edge effects of something much more beautiful? Imagine that our universe, with all its galaxies and stars and planets, is like the foam on top of a cosmic ocean, and beneath that foam lies something serene and perfect and utterly simple, the true source from which all complexity emerges and to which it ultimately returns. In this vision, the journey beyond our observable universe wouldn't be a voyage into ever greater strangeness, but a return to the source, a homecoming to the play where all questions dissolve, not because they've been answered, but because they've been transcended, where the very desire to know gives way to something deeper and more peaceful. Some mystics and philosophers have long claimed that reality has this nested structure, that beneath the apparent complexity of existence lies a fundamental unity, a cosmic ground of being from which everything emerges and to which everything returns. Perhaps beyond our observable universe, we would find not more things, but the very source of thingness itself. This brings us to one of the most profound paradoxes in all of cosmology. The more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how little we actually know. Each new discovery seems to open up 10 new mysteries. Each answer reveals a dozen new questions, and perhaps that's exactly as it should be. Maybe the true wonder isn't in finally solving the mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe, but in living with the mystery itself, in maintaining our sense of awe and curiosity in the face of the ultimately unknowable. There's something deeply human about this desire to push beyond every horizon, to peer around every corner, to ask what lies beyond, even when we know the question might be unanswerable. And perhaps that's the real gift of pondering these cosmic mysteries. Not the hope of finding definitive answers, but the way the questions themselves stretch our minds and souls, expand our sense of what's possible, and remind us of our place in the vast cosmic story that's still being written. So tonight, as you drift off to sleep and your mind begins to wander, let it wander far. Let it travel beyond the furthest galaxies, beyond the edge of the observable universe, and into realms of pure possibility, where every dream is a universe waiting to be born, and every thought is a star learning to shine. But what does all this speculation mean for us here, on this small blue world orbiting an ordinary star in an unremarkable galaxy? Why should we care about realms of existence so distant and alien that they might as well be pure fantasy? The answer lies not in the practical implications, but in something far more profound, the way these questions change us simply by being asked. When we contemplate what lies beyond the observable universe, we're doing something uniquely human. We're pushing against the boundaries of our own existence, not with rockets or telescopes, but with pure thought and imagination. We're exercising that peculiar faculty that allows us to conceive of things we can never experience, to hold ideas too large for any single mind to fully grasp. Consider how different your sense of scale becomes when you really absorb these possibilities. The problems that seemed so overwhelming this morning, the deadlines and disappointments, the small dramas and daily concerns, suddenly shrink to their proper size when held against the backdrop of infinite cosmic possibility. It's not that these earthly concerns become meaningless, quite the opposite, they become precious in their very smallness and temporality. There's something almost meditative about contemplating the limits of knowledge itself. In our everyday lives, we're so accustomed to seeking answers, to Googling solutions, to believing that every question has a discoverable response. But the question of what lies beyond the observable universe reminds us that some mysteries might be fundamentally unsolvable, and there's a strange peace to be found in that acceptance. The ancient Greeks had a word for this kind of intellectual humility. They called it apophatic knowledge, knowing by unknowing. It's the recognition that sometimes the most profound truths can only be approached by acknowledging what we cannot know, by embracing the darkness rather than cursing it. In the realm beyond our cosmic horizon, we find the ultimate expression of this principle, a darkness so complete that it teaches us to see our own small light more clearly. But let's return for a moment to those bubble universes floating in their higher dimensional sea, because there's something wonderfully playful about this idea. If every possible universe exists somewhere in the multiverse, then somewhere there's a universe where the laws of physics are just slightly different, where perhaps pi equals exactly 3, or where gravity sometimes decides to push instead of pull. There might be universes where colors have flavors and sounds have textures, where memories can be touched and emotions have weight. There could be cosmos where music is a fundamental force, like electromagnetism, where every star sings its own unique song, and where the harmony of the spheres isn't just poetic metaphor but literal cosmic truth. Imagine universes where time flows like honey thick and sweet, where moments can be savored for eons, or where time is granular, like sand and consciousness hops from grain to grain, experiencing existence as a series of discrete snapshots. There might be realities where cause and effect are suggestions, rather than laws where every action creates not just one consequence, but a whole symphony of possibilities. In some bubble universe, there might be beings who experience space not as 3 dimensions, but as a rich multidimensional tapestry where what we call distance is just one note in a complex chord of spatial relationships. These beings might move through their reality not by traveling, but by shifting their dimensional perspective, the way we might change the focus of our eyes to see near or far. And perhaps, most intriguingly, there might be universes where consciousness isn't trapped inside individual brains, but flows freely through space like a kind of cosmic weather system. In such realities, thoughts might drift like clouds, gathering into storms of insight or dispersing into gentle rains of contemplation. The very notion of a separate self might be as foreign to these beings as their collective consciousness is to us. But even as we play with these possibilities, we must remember that they emerge from our own very human, very limited ways of thinking about reality. The true nature of what lies beyond our observable universe might be so alien to our conceptual frameworks that our wildest imaginings are still hopelessly provincial, like a fish trying to imagine what it means to fly. This limitation isn't a flaw in our reasoning, it's a feature of consciousness itself. Every mind, no matter how vast or sophisticated, must have boundaries, must operate within some framework of understanding. Even an infinite intelligence, would have to choose which infinities to explore, which questions to ask, which patterns to notice. The very act of being conscious seems to require some form of limitation, some way of carving meaning out of the vast, undifferentiated potential of pure existence. So, when we imagine what lies beyond the observable universe, we're really exploring the boundaries of our own minds. We're mapping the coastlines of human understanding and discovering where the solid ground of knowledge gives way to the open ocean of mystery. It's a humbling exercise, but also a liberating one because it reminds us that there will always be more to discover, more to wonder about, more to dream. The cosmologists and theoretical physicists who spend their careers thinking about these questions aren't just engaged in abstract intellectual exercise, they're serving as scouts for the rest of humanity, venturing to the very edges of what can be known and bringing back reports from the frontier. Their equations and theories are like messages in bottles cast into the cosmic ocean, hoping that someday, somehow, we might receive a reply from the other side. And perhaps we already have, perhaps, the very fact that we can conceive of realms beyond our observation is itself a kind of communication from those unreachable regions. Maybe consciousness, with its ability to transcend its own limitations, to imagine what it cannot experience, is the universe's way of touching its own edges, of sensing what lies beyond its own boundaries. In the grand symphony of existence, our observable universe might be just one movement, a brief melodic phrase, in a composition so vast and complex that no single consciousness could ever hear it in its entirety. But perhaps that's precisely the point. Perhaps the beauty lies not in hearing the whole symphony, but in playing our part with as much grace and wonder as we can muster. The question of what lies beyond the observable universe ultimately brings us back to ourselves, to this moment, to the miracle of awareness, contemplating its own context. We are the universe, becoming conscious of itself, asking questions about its own nature and limits. In our wondering about what lies beyond, we are the cosmos reaching toward itself, with invisible hands searching for something it has lost, or perhaps something it has yet to become. And maybe that's the most profound answer of all, that what lies beyond the observable universe is not a place or a thing, but a question, a reaching, a yearning that gives meaning to everything within. The mystery itself might be more important than any solution, the question more valuable than any answer, the journey more significant than any destination. So, as we float here on our small world, wrapped in our thin atmosphere of breathable air and possible dreams we carry within us, something that might be rarer than any exotic matter or impossible geometry, we carry the capacity to wonder, to ask questions that stretch beyond any conceivable answer, to touch with our minds what we can never reach with our hands. Tonight, when you step outside and look up at the stars, remember that your gaze is traveling across billions of years and trillions of miles to reach your eyes, and beyond those stars to touch ancient light that has journeyed across the cosmos, just beyond the furthest galaxies, beyond the very edge of what light can show us, lies something that will forever remain beautifully unknowable. Perhaps in contemplating these unreachable realms, we're engaging in the most fundamentally human act of all, the refusal to accept limits, even when those limits are written into the very fabric of reality itself. There's something beautifully stubborn about our species, isn't there? We're told that nothing can travel faster than light, so we dream of wormholes. We're shown that certain knowledge is forever beyond our reach, so we build better telescopes and more elegant theories. This cosmic curiosity might be evolution's greatest gift to the universe, a way for matter to transcend its own boundaries through the strange alchemy of consciousness. When you think about it, every time we imagine what lies beyond the observable universe, we're performing a kind of magic. We're taking the raw material of neurons and electricity and somehow conjuring visions of infinite possibility. But let's pause for a moment and consider the profound loneliness that might exist in those unreachable regions. If there are indeed other bubble universes floating in their higher dimensional sea, they might be utterly isolated from one another. No signal could ever pass between them, no traveler could ever make the journey. Each cosmos would be completely alone with its own laws, its own stories, its own triumphs and tragedies playing out in perfect solitude. There's something both tragic and beautiful about this cosmic isolation. Each universe would be like a single note played in an empty concert hall, creating music that no other consciousness could ever hear. Yet perhaps this very isolation is what gives each universe its unique character, its own unrepeatable contribution to the symphony of existence. In our own observable universe, we've grown accustomed to the idea that information can travel, that light can carry messages across vast distances, that we can, in some sense, touch distant stars with our telescopes and our mathematics. But beyond our cosmic horizon, even this tenuous connection might be impossible. Those regions exist in a state of perfect informational quarantine, sealed away not by walls or barriers, but by the fundamental structure of space-time itself. This raises a peculiar question about the nature of existence itself. If something exists, but can never be observed, never be reached, never be verified in any way, in what sense does it truly exist? It's like the old philosophical puzzle about a tree falling in an empty forest, but elevated to cosmic proportions. If an entire universe undergoes its complete history, from birth to death, with no possibility of ever being witnessed, does it matter in any meaningful way? Some philosophers would argue that existence is independent of observation, that reality doesn't require an audience to be real. Others might claim that without the possibility of observation, without some way of mattering to consciousness somewhere, existence becomes a purely academic concept. It's a question that touches the very heart of what we mean when we say something is real. But perhaps we're approaching this from the wrong direction. Instead of asking whether unobservable realms truly exist, maybe we should ask what their possible existence teaches us about the nature of existence itself. The mere fact that we can conceive of regions forever beyond our reach suggests something profound about the relationship between mind and reality. Consider how the horizon works here on Earth. You can see a certain distance, and then the curve of the planet blocks your view, but you don't doubt that the world continues beyond that horizon. You've been there, you've seen it, you have every reason to believe that more Earth exists just out of sight. The cosmic horizon is similar yet fundamentally different. We can't travel there. We can't verify our assumptions. We can't even be certain that our usual concepts of space and time apply. Yet something in us, insists on believing that reality continues, that the story goes on even where we can't read the pages. This might be nothing more than a cognitive bias, an inability to conceive of true endings or boundaries. Or it might be a deeper intuition about the nature of existence itself, a recognition that reality is too rich, too generous, too creative to simply stop at the edge of our perception. The ancient cartographers used to mark unexplored regions of their maps with the phrase, "Here be dragons." It was both a warning and an invitation, acknowledging the danger of the unknown while hinting at wonders yet to be discovered. The realm beyond our observable universe is the ultimate here be dragons territory, a place where not just our maps, but our very concepts of mapping break down entirely. What kind of dragons might dwell in such realms? Not the fire breathing variety of medieval imagination, but something far stranger. Regions where the very categories we use to understand reality become meaningless. Places where the question, "What is it like?" has no answer, not because we lack information, but because the concept of likeness itself doesn't apply. Imagine trying to describe color to someone who has never seen, or music to someone who has never heard. Now multiply that impossibility by infinity, and you begin to approach the challenge of understanding what lies beyond our cosmic bubble. We're not just lacking specific information, we might be lacking the very conceptual machinery needed to process that information. This suggests something both humbling and exciting about the future of human knowledge. As we develop new ways of thinking, new mathematical frameworks, new conceptual tools, we might not just discover new facts about the universe, but new ways of having facts at all. The expansion of our knowledge might require not just better instruments, but better minds, consciousness that has evolved beyond its current limitations. Some researchers speculate that artificial intelligence might eventually develop forms of understanding so alien to human thought that they could model realities we can't even imagine. These digital minds might explore conceptual spaces as foreign to us as our abstract mathematics would be to a honeybee. In their silicon dreams, they might visit universes that exist only as pure information, realities made of logic and computation rather than matter and energy. But even the most sophisticated artificial intelligence would still be bound by some form of computational limits, some framework of operation. The question of what lies beyond the observable universe might be unanswerable not just to human minds, but to any possible form of consciousness, no matter how vast or alien. This brings us to a curious paradox. The more we expand our understanding of the universe, the more we discover how much we don't understand. Each answer reveals new questions. Each solved mystery unveils deeper puzzles. It's as if reality has an infinite capacity for surprise, an inexhaustible ability to exceed our expectations and confound our assumptions. Perhaps what lies beyond the observable universe is not more complexity or greater simplicity, not stranger physics or more familiar patterns, but something that transcends the very categories of simple and complex, strange and familiar. Maybe the ultimate reality is so fundamentally different from anything we can conceive that our questions about it are like asking what color Wednesday tastes like, nonsensical, not because they're poorly formed, but because they apply concepts that simply don't exist in that realm. And yet we keep asking, keep wondering, keep reaching toward the unreachable with our minds and our mathematics. There's something almost sacred about this persistent curiosity, this refusal to be satisfied with partial answers or comfortable ignorance. In our questioning, we honor the mystery itself, acknowledging its importance even as we admit our inability to solve it. The realm beyond our observable universe remains forever hidden, forever unknowable, forever just out of reach. But in our very wondering about it, we transform ourselves. We become beings capable of conceiving infinity, of embracing mystery, of finding meaning in questions that have no answers. And perhaps that transformation, that stretching of consciousness toward the impossible, is itself a glimpse of what lies beyond, a preview of realities too strange and wonderful for any single universe to contain. As the night deepens around you and your thoughts begin to drift like distant galaxies moving through the expanding darkness, let your mind wander to those unreachable shores where reality becomes something we have no words for, something we can only approach through the gentle mathematics of dreams and the quiet poetry of wonder. In our quest to understand what lies beyond the observable universe, we encounter something rather curious about the nature of scientific inquiry itself. Every measurement we make, every observation we record, every theory we construct is fundamentally limited by the tools we use and the perspective from which we use them. We are, in essence, trying to understand the ocean while standing on a very small island. Consider how our understanding of the cosmos has evolved over the centuries. Once we believed the earth was the center of everything, with all the heavenly bodies revolving around us in perfect crystalline spheres. The universe was small, intimate, comprehensible. Then came Copernicus, who gently suggested we might not be quite so central after all. Galileo pointed his telescope skyward and discovered that the Milky Way wasn't just a cloudy smudge, but countless distant stars. Each revelation expanded our cosmic address. We learned that our sun is just one star among billions in our galaxy, and our galaxy is just one among trillions in the observable universe. Each step outward made us smaller, humbler, and paradoxically more significant, because we remained the observers, the questioners, the beings capable of grasping these vast scales. But now we've reached what might be the ultimate horizon, not just of space, but of knowledge itself. Beyond the observable universe lies a realm that might be forever beyond the reach of any conceivable observation. It's a humbling thought that there are aspects of reality so distant, so alien, that they might remain forever mysterious, no matter how clever we become, no matter how powerful our instruments grow. This limitation isn't a failure of science, but perhaps its most profound lesson. We are finite beings trying to comprehend what might be an infinite reality. Our brains, evolved to navigate the African savanna and recognize faces in the crowd, are now straining to understand cosmic structures billions of times larger than anything our ancestors could have imagined. Yet here's the remarkable thing: we're actually rather good at it. Despite our limitations, despite being confined to this tiny planet for most of our species' existence, we've managed to decode the age of the universe, map the cosmic web of galaxies, and peer back to within a fraction of a second of the Big Bang itself. It's as if the universe wanted to be understood and equipped us with just enough curiosity and intelligence to begin the task. But understanding comes in many forms. There's the mathematical understanding of equations and models, the conceptual understanding of how things work, and then there's something deeper, a kind of intuitive grasp that transcends mere knowledge, a sense of connection to the cosmic whole that makes us feel at home in the universe, even as we acknowledge its vast indifference. When we contemplate what lies beyond the observable universe, we're engaging in this deeper form of understanding. We're not just asking about facts and figures, but about meaning, about our place in the grand scheme of things, about the nature of existence itself. These questions change us in ways that purely technical knowledge cannot. There's something almost mystical about the way consciousness can transcend its own boundaries through pure thought. When you imagine those bubble universes floating in their higher dimensional space, something extraordinary is happening inside your skull. Neurons are firing in patterns that somehow create a mental model of realities that might exist beyond any possible verification. The very atoms that make up your brain atoms, forged in the hearts of ancient stars, are contemplating the possibility of realms where different atoms, different stars, different forms of matter might exist under entirely alien laws. This capacity for transcendent imagination might be evolution's greatest achievement, more remarkable than flight, more sophisticated than echolocation, more profound than any other biological innovation. We are matter that has learned to dream of other forms of matter, space that has become aware of other possible spaces, time that can imagine alternative flows of time. But let's consider another possibility, one that might seem almost too strange to contemplate seriously. What if consciousness itself, this very capacity for awareness and imagination, plays a more fundamental role in reality than we've ever suspected? Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that observation, the act of measurement, plays a crucial role in determining what becomes real. The observer and the observed are linked in ways that challenge our usual assumptions about the independence of external reality. Now extend this idea to cosmic scales. What if consciousness, wherever it exists in the universe, isn't just passively observing reality, but actively participating in its creation? What if the regions beyond our observable universe remain in some sense unformed, existing only as pure potential until they're touched by awareness? This isn't to suggest that human consciousness is somehow central to cosmic reality. Rather, it's the possibility that consciousness in general, wherever it arises, serves as a kind of cosmic measurement device, collapsing infinite potential into specific actualities. In this view, what lies beyond our observable universe might be not so much other realities as other possibilities waiting for the touch of awareness to become real. It's a provocative idea, one that blurs the line between physics and metaphysics, between objective reality and subjective experience. The regions beyond our cosmic horizon might exist in a state of quantum superposition, containing all possible universes simultaneously until observed into specific existence by some form of consciousness. This would make every conscious being in the universe a kind of cosmic artist, painting reality into existence through the very act of observation. The boundaries of the observable universe would then represent not just the limits of what we can see, but the limits of what has been actualized through conscious observation. Of course, this remains highly speculative, more philosophy than physics, but it illustrates how the question of what lies beyond the observable universe inevitably leads us back to the deepest mysteries of consciousness, observation, and the nature of reality itself. We cannot separate the observer from the observed, the questioner from the question, the consciousness that wonders from the cosmos it wonders about. Perhaps this is why the question feels so personally significant, despite its cosmic scale. In wondering about what lies beyond our universe, we're really wondering about the limits of our own awareness, the boundaries of what it means to be conscious in a reality that might extend infinitely beyond any possible experience. The ancient philosophers spoke of the music of the spheres, the idea that celestial bodies create a cosmic harmony as they move through the heavens. It was a beautiful metaphor, but maybe they were onto something deeper than they realized. Maybe consciousness itself is a kind of cosmic music, a way for the universe to hear its own symphony, to appreciate its own vast and complex harmonies. In this view, every conscious being is like a single instrument in an impossibly large orchestra, contributing its small voice to a composition so vast that no single player can hear the whole piece. The regions beyond our observable universe might represent not just other sections of the orchestra, but entirely different musical traditions, other ways of creating meaning through organized sound. When we strain to hear what lies beyond the cosmic horizon, we're like musicians trying to catch hints of distant melodies, other movements in the grand composition of existence. We may never hear the full symphony, but we can sense its presence, feel its rhythm in the very structure of our local reality. This musical metaphor extends in beautiful ways. Just as a single note gains meaning only in relation to other notes, in harmony and discord with the broader composition, perhaps our observable universe gains its significance only in relation to what lies beyond it. We are not isolated, not alone, but part of something infinitely larger and more complex than we can imagine. The silence beyond our cosmic horizon is an empty silence, but pregnant silence, full of potential melodies, harmonies yet to be heard, movements yet to be played. In our very wondering about what lies beyond, we add our own notes to this cosmic composition, our questions becoming part of the music we're trying to understand. And maybe that's enough. Maybe the beauty lies not in solving the mystery, but in being part of it, not in hearing the complete symphony, but in contributing our small voice to its endless, ever expanding song. The realm beyond the observable universe remains forever hidden, but in our wondering about it, we ensure that the music continues, that the questions keep being asked, that the cosmic conversation never ends. As you settle into the quiet of evening, with the vast night sky stretching overhead, remember that you are both audience and performer in this cosmic symphony. Your thoughts about what lies beyond are themselves part of what lies beyond, your wonder about the infinite contributing to the infinite's wonder about itself. In the gentle mathematics of your dreams and the quiet poetry of your questions, the universe reaches toward its own mystery, touches its own edges, and finds there not answers, but something even more precious, the capacity to keep asking, to keep wondering, to keep reaching toward the beautiful unknown. The boundary of the observable universe isn't a wall, but a horizon, and like all horizons, it recedes as we approach it, always promising something more, just beyond the next ridge, the next discovery, the next moment of cosmic revelation. Tonight, let your mind drift toward that ever receding horizon where mystery becomes possibility and possibility becomes the very substance of dreams. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of contemplating what lies beyond our observable universe is how it transforms our relationship with the unknown itself. In our daily lives, we're constantly seeking answers, solving problems, filling in gaps in our knowledge. We live in an age where information is at our fingertips, where mysteries are meant to be solved, where the unknown is simply the not yet known. But the realm beyond our cosmic horizon presents us with something far more radical, the genuinely unknowable. It's a category of mystery that resists not just our current understanding, but potentially any future understanding. There's something both terrifying and liberating about acknowledging such as absolute limits to human knowledge. Think about how this changes the very nature of wondering. When we wonder about most things, we do so with the implicit assumption that answers exist, that with enough time, effort, and cleverness, we'll eventually figure things out. But wondering about what lies beyond the observable universe is different. It's pure wondering, untainted by the expectation of resolution. This might be the closest thing we have to a truly spiritual experience in the scientific realm. We're confronting mystery not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a fundamental feature of reality itself. The darkness beyond our cosmic horizon isn't darkness waiting to be illuminated, but essential darkness, darkness that gives meaning to the light we can see. Consider how different cultures throughout history have approached the concept of the infinite and the unknowable. Some traditions speak of the void, the pregnant emptiness from which all things emerge and to which they return. Others describe layers of reality stretching beyond human comprehension, each more subtle and mysterious than the last. Still others suggest that the ultimate truth is paradoxical, simultaneously everything and nothing, knowable only through the abandonment of knowing. What's fascinating is how modern cosmology has led us back to these ancient philosophical territories. Our most sophisticated scientific instruments and mathematical theories have brought us face to face with questions that mystics and poets have contemplated for millennia. The tools have changed, but the fundamental human encounter with mystery remains remarkably constant. There's something deeply democratic about this cosmic mystery. It doesn't matter how educated you are, how sophisticated your instruments, how elegant your theories. When it comes to what lies beyond the observable universe, we're all in the same boat, all equally ignorant, all equally capable of wonder. The Nobel laureate physicist and the curious child looking up at the stars share the same fundamental relationship to this ultimate unknown. This democratization of mystery might be one of cosmology's greatest gifts to human culture. In an age of increasing specialization, where knowledge has become fragmented into countless expert domains, the question of what lies beyond our universe remains gloriously accessible to anyone capable of imagination. But accessibility doesn't mean simplicity. The more deeply we contemplate these cosmic mysteries, the more they reveal layers of complexity that would challenge any mind, however sophisticated. It's like looking into a pool that appears shallow from the surface, but proves to have depths that no amount of peering can fathom. The mathematics involved in describing the observable universe alone stretches human cognition to its limits. General relativity, quantum field theory, the equations of cosmic inflation, these tools barely allow us to glimpse the edge of what we can observe. Extending our mathematical imagination beyond that edge requires not just computational power, but conceptual leaps that might fundamentally alter what we mean by mathematics itself. Some theoretical physicists have begun exploring mathematical structures so abstract, so removed from everyday experience, that they challenge our basic assumptions about what numbers and equations can represent. These explorations aren't just academic exercises, but attempts to develop languages sophisticated enough to whisper about what might lie beyond our cosmic boundaries. Yet, even as we push the boundaries of mathematical abstraction, we must remember that all our concepts, however sophisticated, emerge from minds that evolved in a very specific cosmic context. Our brains developed to navigate three-dimensional space, to track objects moving at relatively slow speeds, to recognize patterns that helped our ancestors survive on the African savanna. The fact that these same brains can conceive of 11-dimensional string theories and infinite multiverses is remarkable, but it doesn't mean our concepts are unlimited. What if the true nature of reality beyond our observable universe is so alien to our evolved ways of thinking that our most abstract mathematics is still hopelessly concrete, still trapped within the conceptual prison of minds shaped by billions of years of evolution in this particular cosmic environment? This possibility leads us to one of the most profound questions in all of philosophy. Is reality ultimately comprehensible to mind, or are there aspects of existence that transcend any possible form of understanding? The question takes on new urgency when we consider that what lies beyond our observable universe might represent the vast majority of all reality. If we imagine existence as a vast library, our observable universe might be just a single page in one volume of an infinite collection. All human knowledge, all scientific discovery, all mathematical insight would represent our careful study of the punctuation marks on that one page. The stories told in the rest of the library might be written in languages we don't just fail to understand, but can't even recognize as languages. This analogy suggests something both humbling and oddly comforting. We are not failed cosmic readers, struggling with texts that we should be able to decipher. We are readers discovering that the library is infinitely larger and more diverse than we ever imagined, filled with forms of literature that transcend our current categories of meaning entirely. But perhaps our role isn't to read the entire library anyway. Perhaps consciousness serves a different function in the cosmic scheme of things. Maybe we're not meant to be universal translators, but something more like cosmic gardeners, tending to our small patch of reality with love and attention, creating beauty and meaning in our local environment while remaining humbly aware of the vast wilderness beyond our garden walls. This gardening metaphor resonates with something deep in human nature. We've always been creatures who create order and meaning in small spaces while remaining aware of the larger mystery that surrounds us. The campfire circle, the village boundaries, the horizon beyond which lie unknown territories, these archetypal patterns repeat at every scale, from the intimate to the cosmic. Our observable universe, then, might be like the ultimate campfire circle, a space of warmth and light and storytelling surrounded by an infinite wilderness of mystery. The light of our scientific understanding illuminates a small region where we can see clearly, recognize patterns, tell stories about how things work. Beyond that circle of light lies not empty darkness, but a rich, complex, and unimaginably vast wilderness full of its own forms of life and meaning. The stories we tell around our cosmic campfire stories about galaxies and black holes, about the birth of stars and the evolution of planets are true stories, but they're also local stories. They describe what happens in our particular patch of the infinite wilderness. Other regions might have entirely different stories, different characters, different rules of narrative altogether. What's beautiful about this perspective is that it doesn't diminish the importance of our local stories. A good campfire story doesn't become less meaningful because there are other campfires elsewhere telling different stories. If anything, the awareness of that vast storytelling wilderness beyond our circle of light makes our own stories more precious, more worth telling with care and attention. This brings us to a curious paradox about the relationship between the local and the cosmic. The more aware we become of the vast scales of space, temporary fragile forms of meaning become. The knowledge and time, the more precious our local, that our observable universe might be just one bubble in an infinite foam, doesn't make our bubble less important. It makes it irreplaceably unique. Every human life, every moment of consciousness, every act of love or creativity or understanding becomes a rare and precious event when seen against the backdrop of cosmic vastness. We are not diminished by the scale of what might lie beyond our observation. We are made sacred by it. There's something almost alchemical about this transformation of perspective. The base metal of everyday concerns becomes the gold of cosmic significance when heated in the furnace of ultimate mystery. Your thoughts right now, as you contemplate these impossible scales, are part of the universe becoming conscious of its own vast mystery. In your wondering, reality wonders about itself. This recursive quality of consciousness, contemplating its own context, might be one of the most remarkable features of our universe. We are the cosmos asking questions about itself, looking in mirrors it has created from its own substance. The fact that matter can organize itself into patterns capable of contemplating infinity suggests something profound about the nature of existence itself. Perhaps consciousness isn't an accident, a rare byproduct of complex chemistry, but something more fundamental. Maybe awareness is woven into the very fabric of reality, expressing itself wherever conditions allow, creating pockets of self reflection in the vast ocean of existence. In this view, our questions about what lies beyond the observable universe aren't just human curiosity, but the universe's own deep need to understand itself. If this is true, then consciousness, wherever it exists, serves as reality's way of touching its own boundaries, of sensing what lies beyond its own edges. Every sentient being becomes a kind of cosmic sense organ, allowing the universe to feel its way through the darkness toward greater self understanding. This doesn't mean that human consciousness is central to cosmic purpose, only that consciousness in general, wherever and however it arises, might play a more fundamental role than we've typically assumed. We might be participants in a vast, slow process of cosmic awakening, reality gradually becoming more aware of its own infinite nature through the emergence of minds capable of contemplating infinity. The regions beyond our observable universe, then, wouldn't just be distant territories waiting to be explored, but aspects of reality waiting to be dreamed into fuller existence through the act of conscious contemplation. Our questions about what lies beyond might be the universe's way of reaching toward parts of itself that it hasn't yet fully realized. This is admittedly speculative, more poetry than physics, but it illustrates how questions about the ultimate nature of reality inevitably lead us back to questions about the nature of consciousness itself. We cannot separate what we're asking from who's doing the asking, cannot divorce the mystery from the mysteriously aware beings contemplating it. As you lie in the gathering darkness tonight, with the vast cosmos wheeling overhead, remember that you are not separate from what you're contemplating. You are the universe in one of its modes of self awareness, reality temporarily organized into a pattern capable of wondering about reality itself. Your questions about what lies beyond are the cosmos questioning itself. Your wonder about infinity is infinity experiencing itself through the strange alchemy of consciousness. The boundary of the observable universe isn't just a limit to what we can see, it's a horizon of possibility, a place where the known gently touches the unknowable, where the light of understanding meets the fertile darkness of eternal mystery. In that meeting place, at the very edge of everything we can ever hope to know, something beautiful is always happening. The universe falling in love with its own infinite mystery, consciousness reaching toward consciousness, wonder touching wonder in the vast, gentle darkness of all that is and all that might be. Tonight, as you drift deeper into contemplation of these cosmic mysteries, let's consider what might be the most beautiful paradox of all, that in confronting the absolute limits of human knowledge, we might discover something unlimited about the nature of wonder itself. You see, when we exhaust every scientific instrument, every mathematical framework, every conceptual tool we've developed to probe reality, something curious happens. We don't simply hit a wall and stop. Instead, we find ourselves in a place where pure imagination becomes our only remaining compass, where the act of wondering becomes an end in itself rather than a means to an answer. This is where science begins to resemble art, where cosmology becomes a form of cosmic poetry. The equations that describe the edge of our observable universe start to read like verses in some vast epic poem written in the language of mathematics. The theories about what might lie beyond begin to sound like creation myths, stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the senseless immensity. But perhaps this convergence of science and story isn't a failure of scientific method, but its most profound achievement. When we reach the absolute limits of empirical investigation, we discover that the human capacity for meaning making doesn't simply shut down, it transforms. It becomes something more fundamental than data collection or hypothesis testing. It becomes a form of cosmic participation, a way of being in relationship with mystery itself. Consider how different this makes our relationship with uncertainty. In most areas of life, uncertainty is something to be eliminated, a problem to be solved, a gap in knowledge to be filled. But at the edge of the observable universe, uncertainty becomes a doorway, an invitation into forms of engagement with reality that transcend the usual categories of knowing and not knowing. There's a particular quality of attention that emerges when we truly absorb the fact that certain questions might be forever unanswerable. It's not the focused attention of problem solving or the analytical attention of scientific observation. It's something softer, more receptive, more like the attention we bring to music or poetry or the face of someone we love. This contemplative attention doesn't seek to grasp or capture or explain. It simply rests in the presence of mystery itself, finding in that presence a kind of nourishment that facts and theories, however elegant, can never provide. It's the attention of wonder rather than the attention of analysis, and it might be our most appropriate response to realms that exist forever beyond the reach of analysis. Some philosophers have suggested that this capacity for wonder, for remaining open to what cannot be grasped, is actually a more sophisticated form of knowledge than our usual scientific knowing. They call it negative capability, the ability to remain in uncertainty and doubt without irritably reaching after fact and reason. It's knowledge through unknowing, wisdom through the acknowledgement of ignorance. When applied to the question of what lies beyond the observable universe, this negative capability becomes a form of cosmic courtesy, a way of honoring the mystery without trying to diminish it through premature explanation. We can hold the question lightly, appreciating its beauty without demanding that it yield to our need for answers. This doesn't mean abandoning scientific curiosity or rational inquiry. Rather, it means recognizing that some aspects of reality might require different forms of engagement, different ways of being in relationship with the unknown. The telescope and the equation have taken us as far as they can. Beyond that point, we might need other tools: imagination, intuition, the quiet contemplation that allows reality to reveal itself in its own time and its own way. There's something deeply ecological about this approach to cosmic mystery. Just as we've learned that some wilderness areas need to be preserved not for what we can extract from them, but for their intrinsic value, perhaps some aspects of reality need to be preserved in their unknowability, valued precisely because they resist our attempts to colonize them with explanation. The regions beyond our observable universe might represent the ultimate wilderness preserve, spaces that remain forever wild, forever free from the domesticating influence of human understanding. In recognizing and respecting these limits, we participate in a kind of cosmic conservation, protecting the mystery that gives meaning to everything we do understand. This preservation of mystery isn't passive or resigned. It's an active choice to maintain our capacity for awe, to keep alive the sense of wonder that makes both science and poetry possible. Without mystery, without the unknown calling to us from beyond every horizon, our knowledge becomes sterile, our achievements hollow, our stories complete in a way that drains them of their power to transform us. The question of what lies beyond the observable universe serves as a kind of cosmic koan, a riddle that changes us in the contemplation rather than in the solving. Like the sound of one hand clapping or the face we had before we were born, it points toward truths that can only be approached sideways, through metaphor and paradox, rather than through direct analysis. But perhaps the most profound gift of this cosmic mystery is the way it connects us to every other conscious being that has ever gazed up at the night sky and wondered. Across cultures, across centuries, across the vast expanses of space and time, conscious creatures have looked out into the darkness and felt that same mixture of awe, curiosity, and humble recognition of their own limitations. The Babylonian astronomer tracking the movements of planets, the medieval monk contemplating the music of the spheres, the modern cosmologist studying the cosmic microwave background radiation, all share this fundamental human experience of confronting the vast unknown. The tools change, the theories evolve, but the essential encounter between finite consciousness and infinite mystery remains constant. In this sense, wondering about what lies beyond the observable universe connects us not just to the cosmos, but to the entire community of wanderers that stretches across all of human history and potentially beyond. Every conscious being that has ever contemplated the night sky becomes our companion in this ultimate question, our fellow traveler in the journey toward the unknowable. This community of cosmic wanderers transcends not just geographical boundaries, but temporal ones as well. When you look up at the stars tonight and let your mind drift toward the question of what lies beyond, you join a conversation that began with the first human to recognize the mystery of existence, and that will continue as long as consciousness exists anywhere in the universe. There's something deeply democratic about this cosmic wondering. It requires no special training, no expensive equipment, no advanced degrees. All it asks is the willingness to be present to mystery, to let your imagination expand beyond the boundaries of the known, to participate in the universe's ongoing contemplation of itself. Yet this accessibility doesn't diminish the profundity of the question. If anything, the fact that cosmic mystery remains open to anyone capable of wonder suggests something important about the nature of reality itself. Perhaps the deepest truths aren't hidden behind walls of technical complexity, but are available to any consciousness willing to approach them with the right kind of attention. This might explain why the question of what lies beyond the observable universe feels simultaneously scientific and spiritual, rational and mystical, practical and poetic. It exists at the intersection of all our ways of engaging with reality, calling forth our full range of human capacities rather than just our analytical minds. The ancient Greeks spoke of different kinds of love, eros, philia, agape, and perhaps we need similar distinctions for different kinds of knowing. There's the knowing of measurement and analysis, the knowing of intimate familiarity, the knowing of creative participation, and perhaps most mysteriously, the knowing that comes through not knowing. The understanding that emerges from the willingness to remain in relationship with what cannot be understood. Our relationship with what lies beyond the observable universe calls forth this last kind of knowing. We cannot measure it, cannot become familiar with it, cannot even participate in it directly, but we can remain in relationship with it through our questions, our wonder, our willingness to be changed by the contemplation of what we cannot grasp. This relationship transforms both the questioner and the question. The more deeply we engage with cosmic mystery, the more mysterious we become to ourselves. We discover that consciousness itself is as puzzling as anything we might hope to find beyond the edge of space, that the very capacity to ask these questions is as remarkable as any answer we might receive. In the end, perhaps what lies beyond the observable universe isn't separate from what lies within us. The mystery we reach toward in the cosmic darkness might be the same mystery that creates thoughts and feelings and the strange, inexplicable fact of awareness itself. The horizon of the knowable might be both infinitely far away and intimately close, both completely other and essentially identical to the mystery of our own existence. Tonight, as you settle into sleep and your conscious mind begins to fade, remember that you carry within you the same cosmic mystery you've been contemplating. Your dreams will unfold in spaces no telescope can reach, following laws of transformation that no equation describes. In sleep, you'll travel to realms as strange and wonderful as anything that might exist beyond the edge of the observable universe. And when you wake tomorrow morning, you'll emerge from that journey with no clear memory of where you've been, no detailed map of the territories your dreaming mind explored. Yet something will have changed, some subtle shift in perspective that comes from having touched, however briefly, the mystery that underlies all experience. This nightly journey into the unknown of sleep and dreams might be the closest we ever come to experiencing what lies beyond the cosmic horizon. In dreams, we regularly encounter impossible geometries, paradoxical narratives, forms of existence that defy the normal rules of space and time. Perhaps our sleeping minds are already citizens of those unobservable realms, already familiar with forms of reality that our waking consciousness cannot imagine. The boundary between the observable universe and what lies beyond might be less like a wall and more like the boundary between waking and sleeping, between the known and the dreamed, between the measured and the imagined. In crossing that boundary each night, we participate in the cosmic mystery we spend our days contemplating. So rest well tonight, fellow traveler in the vast mystery. Your questions about what lies beyond the edge of everything have taken you to the very frontiers of human understanding, to places where science and poetry converge, where knowledge and wonder merge into something larger than either could be alone. In your questioning, you've touched the same mystery that creates galaxies and consciousness alike, that brings forth both the light of distant stars and the strange inner light of awareness itself. The realm beyond the observable universe remains forever hidden, but in your very wondering about it, you've made yourself part of the answer, part of the way the universe comes to know its own infinite nature. Sleep well and dream of impossible distances, of spaces beyond space, of the beautiful darkness where all questions dissolve into the deeper mystery of existence itself. Tomorrow you'll wake in the same small corner of the cosmos, but you'll carry with you the memory of having touched something infinite, something that makes even our vast observable universe seem like just the beginning of a story too large and wonderful for any single consciousness to contain. But let's pause for a moment and consider something rather extraordinary about our cosmic predicament. Here we are, biological creatures made of star stuff, perched on a rocky world, orbiting an ordinary yellow star, trying to comprehend realms so vast and strange that they might transcend the very categories of existence we use to make sense of anything. It's rather like a single drop of water attempting to understand the entire ocean, except that the ocean in question might not even be made of water. This brings us to one of the most delightful paradoxes of modern cosmology. The more precisely we measure our observable universe, the more acutely we become aware of what we cannot measure. Every advance in our instruments, every refinement in our theories, every breakthrough in our understanding serves primarily to illuminate the boundaries of our ignorance more clearly. It's as if the universe has a sense of humor about human ambition, always staying one step ahead of our attempts to pin it down completely. Consider how this might feel to the scientists who spend their careers pushing against these cosmic boundaries. They wake each morning knowing that their life's work is fundamentally about approaching asymptotes, getting closer and closer to ultimate questions without ever quite reaching them. There's something both heroic and absurd about this endeavor, like explorers setting out to map infinity armed with very sophisticated measuring sticks. Yet perhaps this is precisely what gives their work its profound meaning. If we could actually solve the mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe, if we could somehow peer behind the cosmic curtain and catalog everything that exists, would the universe become less magical or more so? Would complete knowledge enhance our sense of wonder or quietly murder it? There's an old story about a group of astronomers who spent decades building the perfect telescope, one that could see absolutely everything that could possibly be seen. When they finally looked through it, they discovered that the universe was exactly as mysterious as it had been before, only now they could see the mystery in perfect detail. The boundaries of the unknowable had simply moved to accommodate their enhanced vision, like a horizon that recedes no matter how far you travel toward it. This suggests something rather profound about the relationship between knowledge and mystery. They might not be opposites, as we often assume, but dance partners, each one defining and giving meaning to the other. The mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe isn't something that exists in spite of our scientific knowledge, but because of it. It's our very sophistication that allows us to frame the question so precisely, to understand exactly what it is that we cannot understand. In this light, the cosmologists studying the edge of the observable universe aren't just gathering data about distant galaxies and cosmic expansion rates. They're serving as cartographers of the unknowable, carefully mapping the precise boundaries between what can be known and what must remain forever mysterious. It's a strange and beautiful profession, charting territories they can never visit and describing horizons they can never cross. But the mystery isn't confined to professional cosmologists. Each of us carries within our skulls a small universe of neurons and electrical impulses that somehow gives rise to the experience of consciousness. We are each walking embodiments of the same fundamental puzzle that confronts us at cosmic scales. The question of what lies beyond the observable universe is intimately connected to the question of what lies within the observable mind. Consider how similar these mysteries actually are. Just as we can observe the behavior of distant galaxies without truly understanding their essential nature, we can observe our own thoughts and feelings without truly understanding how they arise from the chemical and electrical activity of our brains. The boundary between the neural activity we can measure and the subjective experience we live is as sharp and impermeable as the boundary between the observable universe and what lies beyond it. Perhaps this isn't a coincidence. Perhaps consciousness and cosmos are two expressions of the same fundamental mystery, two ways that reality becomes aware of its own infinite depth. When we wonder about what lies beyond the edge of everything, we might be participating in the universe's own process of self reflection, its way of contemplating its own vast and hidden nature. This participation changes everything. We're not external observers studying a distant phenomenon, but intimate participants in the very mystery we're trying to understand. The consciousness that poses the question is itself part of the answer, or at least part of the ongoing conversation between question and answer that might be what reality actually is. There's something beautifully recursive about this situation. The universe has organized some enough to wonder about the universe itself. We are of its matter into patterns complex, the cosmos becoming curious about itself, matter achieving the remarkable feat of self contemplation. In our questions about what lies beyond the observable universe, reality is literally reaching toward its own edges, trying to touch what might be untouchable. This reaching toward the impossible seems to be a fundamental characteristic of consciousness wherever it arises. We are creatures who routinely think thoughts too large for our brains to contain, who conceive of infinities that no finite mind could ever traverse, who imagine possibilities that no possible experience could ever verify. There's something magnificently absurd about this cognitive overreach, this persistent attempt to transcend our own limitations through pure thought. Yet maybe this absurdity is precisely what makes consciousness valuable to the cosmos. Perhaps reality needs observers who are willing to think impossible thoughts, to ask unanswerable questions, to remain curious about what cannot be known. Maybe we serve as the universe's way of keeping its options open, of maintaining its connection to its own infinite potential. The regions beyond our observable horizon might represent not just unknown territories, but unknown possibilities, aspects of reality that remain fluid and potential precisely because no consciousness has yet collapsed them into specific forms. In quantum mechanics, we've learned that observation plays a crucial role in determining what becomes actual from what remains merely possible. Perhaps consciousness serves a similar function at cosmic scales, helping to actualize specific realities from the infinite field of potential that might constitute the true ground of being. This would make every act of cosmic wondering a form of cosmic creativity. When we imagine what lies beyond the observable, ifly speculating, but actively participating in the ongoing universe, we might not just be past creation of reality itself. Our thoughts about infinite multiverses and impossible geometries might be reality's way of exploring its own creative possibilities, would mean that consciousness isn't just along. The implications are staggering. It for the ride in a predetermined cosmos, but plays an active role in shaping what the cosmos becomes. The future of reality would depend not just on the laws of physics, but on the questions that conscious beings choose to ask, the possibilities they choose to contemplate, the dreams they choose to dream. This doesn't make consciousness central to reality in any anthropocentric sense. Rather, it suggests that consciousness, wherever and however it arises, serves as reality's way of maintaining its connection to its own infinite nature. Every sentient being becomes a window through which the universe glimpses its own vast potential, a mirror in which it sees reflections of what it might become. The mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe, then, isn't just about cosmic geography, but about cosmic destiny. The questions we ask about these unreachable realms might influence not just our understanding of reality, but the actual future evolution of reality itself. We might be participants in a vast, slow process of cosmic self creation, helping the universe decide what it wants to become through the very act of wondering what it might be. This transforms our relationship with cosmic mystery from one of passive curiosity to one of active participation. We're not just trying to solve a puzzle, but helping to create it. We're not just observing a story, but helping to write it. The boundary of the observable universe becomes not just a limit to our knowledge, but a frontier of possibility, a place where reality is beyond our cosmic horizon, isn't empty, still deciding what it wants to be. In this view, the darkness, but creative darkness, pregnant with possibilities that await the touch of consciousness to become actualized. Every question we ask about what lies beyond sends ripples into that creative darkness, perhaps influencing what eventually emerges from it. The ancient alchemists spoke of the prima materia, the first matter from which all things arise and to which they return. Perhaps what lies beyond the observable universe is a kind of cosmic prima materia, pure potential waiting to be transformed by the alchemy of consciousness into specific forms of reality. Our questions about what exists there might be the first step in that transformation, the initial stirring of possibility into actuality. This alchemical metaphor suggests that consciousness and cosmos are engaged in an eternal dance of creation, each one shaping the other in an ongoing process that has no final destination. The question of what lies beyond the observable universe becomes not something to be solved, but something to be lived, not a puzzle to be completed, but a conversation to be continued. And perhaps that's the most beautiful answer of all, that the mystery itself is the answer, that the questioning is the destination, that the journey toward the unknowable is what makes the known precious and meaningful. The realm beyond our cosmic horizon remains forever hidden, not because reality is cruel or limited, but because reality is generous beyond measure, always offering more than consciousness can grasp, always promising new mysteries to explore. Tonight, as you drift between waking and sleeping, between the known and the dreamed, remember that you are both questioner and answer, both seeker and sought. In your wonder about what lies beyond the observable universe, you participate in the universe's own wonder about itself. Your questions ripple out into the cosmic darkness like stones thrown into an infinite pond, creating circles of possibility that expand forever into realms no telescope will ever see. The mystery calls to you not because it needs to be solved, but because it needs to be lived, not because it requires answers, but because it requires the kind of consciousness that can appreciate questions too beautiful to answer. In that appreciation, in that willingness to remain open to what cannot be grasped, you become what you seek, a window through which the infinite contemplates itself, a mirror in which mystery recognizes its own beautiful face. Rest well tonight, knowing that in your very questioning, you've touched something that transcends all boundaries, all horizons, all the comfortable categories we use to organize our experience. The realm beyond the observable universe whispers to us not in the language of answers, but in the deeper dialect of eternal wonder, reminding us that some mysteries are too vast and beautiful to be anything other than mysteriously, perfectly, infinitely themselves. As we drift toward the end of our gentle voyage through these cosmic mysteries, I find myself thinking about the peculiar comfort that comes from acknowledging the limits of human understanding. There's something deeply restful about reaching the absolute edge of what can be known and discovering that the view from here is not one of frustration or defeat, but of profound peace. You see, in our daily lives, we're constantly bumping up against smaller mysteries, temporary puzzles that nag at us with their solvability. Why did that email sound so strange? What was the name of that actor in that film? How do I fix this squeaky door hinge? These are the mysteries that keep us awake at night, precisely because we sense that answers exist just beyond our immediate grasp. But the mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe is different. It's so completely, utterly, magnificently beyond our reach that it liberates us from the anxiety of almost knowing. There's no nagging sense that we should be able to figure this out if we just tried a little harder, stayed up a little later, Googled a little more creatively. The mystery is so perfect in its unknowability that it becomes a kind of cosmic lullaby, soothing us with its gentle reminder that not everything needs to be solved. Consider how this changes the very texture of wonder itself. When we contemplate what lies beyond our cosmic horizon, we're engaging in pure wondering, uncomplicated by the expectation of resolution. It's wondering for its own sake, curiosity as an end in itself, rather than a means to some practical understanding. There's something almost childlike about this kind of engagement with mystery, reminiscent of the way very young children can become completely absorbed in watching clouds or following the path of a beetle across the sidewalk. This childlike quality isn't a regression, but a return to something essential about consciousness itself. Before we learned to categorize our experiences, before we developed the habit of turning every question into a problem to be solved, we were capable of pure amazement at the simple fact of existence. The mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe invites us back to that primal state of wonder, that fundamental openness to what is without needing to know what it means. There's also something beautifully democratic about the way this cosmic mystery affects different people. The renowned theoretical physicist and the curious child gazing up at the night sky are equally qualified to participate in this particular form of wondering. No amount of education or sophisticated equipment changes the fundamental relationship between human consciousness and this, all equally capable of awe, ultimate unknown. We're all beginners here, all equally limited in our ability to penetrate the veil. This equality in the face of cosmic mystery might be one of its most precious gifts. In a world increasingly divided by expertise and specialization, where knowledge has become fragmented into countless professional domains, the question of what lies beyond the observable universe remains gloriously accessible to anyone with the capacity for imagination. It's a mystery that belongs to everyone and no one, that can be approached from any direction without losing its essential character. But perhaps, most remarkably, this mystery seems to grow more mysterious the more we learn about it. Unlike ordinary puzzles, which become less puzzling as we gather more pieces, the cosmic mystery deepens with every advance in our understanding. Each new discovery about the observable universe seems to make the realm beyond it even more tantalizingly unknowable, like a shadow that grows darker as the light grows brighter. This paradoxical relationship between knowledge and mystery suggests something profound about the nature of reality itself. Perhaps the universe is structured in such a way that consciousness can never exhaust its capacity for surprise, never reach a point where there's nothing left to wonder about. The mystery might be self renewing, always staying one step ahead of understanding, always offering new depths to explore. If this is true, then what lies beyond the observable universe isn't just a distant territory waiting to be mapped, but an inexhaustible source of wonder itself, a cosmic spring that never runs dry no matter how much we drink from it. Each generation of cosmic wanderers would find the mystery as fresh and compelling as the first humans to look up at the stars and ask what lies beyond. This inexhaustibility of cosmic mystery might be what keeps consciousness alive in the deepest sense. Without mystery, without the unknown calling to us from beyond every horizon, our mental life would gradually become static. Our curiosity would atrophy. Our sense of wonder would fade like a photograph left too long in the sun. The mystery preserves something essential about what it means to be consciously alive. There's also something deeply ecological about this preservation of mystery. Just as we've learned that some wilderness areas need to be protected, not for what we can extract from them, but for their intrinsic value, perhaps some aspects of reality need to remain wild, untamed by explanation, forever free from the colonizing influence of human understanding. The realm beyond our observable universe might represent the ultimate wilderness preserve, a vast territory that remains forever unexplored, not because we lack the courage or ingenuity to explore it, but because its very nature prohibits exploration. In respecting this prohibition, in acknowledging these absolute limits, we participate in a kind of cosmic conservation, maintaining the mystery that gives meaning to everything we do understand. This conservation of mystery isn't passive, but actively generative. The questions we ask about what lies beyond our cosmic horizon don't diminish the mystery, but enrich it, adding layers of complexity and beauty that enhance rather than reduce its power to inspire wonder. Each generation's questions become part of the mystery itself, contributing to its ongoing evolution and deepening. In this sense, our exploration of cosmic mystery is less like archaeology, uncovering facts that were always there, and more like music, creating something beautiful through the very act of engagement. The symphony of cosmic wondering plays itself out across cultures and centuries, with each conscious being adding their own unique voice to the ongoing composition. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, consider how your own wondering about these cosmic mysteries connects you to this vast community of questioners that stretches across all of human history and potentially beyond. The ancient astronomers tracking the wandering stars, the medieval scholars contemplating the celestial spheres, the modern cosmologists studying the cosmic microwave background. They're all your companions in this ultimate inquiry, fellow travelers on the journey toward the beautifully unknowable. Your questions about what lies beyond the observable universe make you part of this timeless conversation, this ongoing dialogue between finite consciousness and infinite mystery. When you look up at the night sky and let your mind drift toward the question of what lies beyond the furthest stars, you join your voice to a cosmic chorus that began with the first moment of human self awareness and will continue as long as consciousness exists anywhere in the universe. There's something deeply moving about this continuity of wonder this unbroken chain of curiosity that connects us across the vast expanses of space and time. The same mystery that puzzles you tonight puzzled our ancestors and will puzzle our descendants. The questions may be refined, the instruments may improve, the theories may become more sophisticated, but the essential human encounter with the unknowable remains constant. This constancy suggests that wondering about ultimate mysteries isn't just something humans happen to do, but something fundamental to what we are. We are the species that asks questions too large for any finite mind to answer, that conceives possibilities too vast for any single lifetime to explore. This cognitive overreach, this persistent attempt to transcend our own limitations through pure thought, might be our most distinctive characteristic, and perhaps it's also our most valuable contribution to the cosmic story. If consciousness serves any function in the grand scheme of things, it might be precisely this capacity to remain open to what cannot be grasped, to maintain a relationship with mystery that keeps reality fresh and alive to its own infinite potential. The regions beyond our observable universe, then, represent not just unknown territories, but the inexhaustible source of newness itself, the cosmic wellspring from which surprise and wonder eternally flow. Our questions about what lies there don't seek to drain this wellspring, but to keep it flowing, to ensure that reality never loses its capacity to astonish even itself. Quiet Rith, as you settle into those of approaching sleep, let your mind rest in the gentle certainty that some questions are too beautiful to answer, some mysteries too perfect to solve. The darkness beyond our cosmic horizon is an empty darkness, but creative darkness, pregnant with possibilities that await not discovery, but participation, not explanation, but appreciation. You're wondering about what lies beyond the observable universe is itself part of what lies beyond, part of the mystery touching itself, part of the infinite reaching toward its own beautiful, unknowable depths. In your questions, the cosmos questions itself. In your wonder, reality wonders about reality. In your peaceful acceptance of the ultimately unknowable, the universe finds a moment of perfect rest. Sleep well, fellow traveler in the vast mystery, knowing that your journey to the edge of everything has brought you home to the deepest truth of all that consciousness and cosmos are one mystery exploring itself, one question asking itself, one wonder wondering about wonder in the gentle, eternal darkness where all possibilities dance together like stars in a sky too vast for any single gaze to encompass. The realm beyond the observable universe remains forever hidden, but in your very contemplation of it, you've made yourself part of the answer, part of the way reality comes to know its own infinite nature. Rest now in that knowing and dream of impossible distances, of spaces beyond space, of the beautiful darkness where all questions dissolve into the deeper mystery of existence itself, always expanding, always wondering, always just beginning to understand the magnificent scope of what it means to be. In the gentle hours between dusk and dawn, when the familiar world softens into something more mysterious, we often find ourselves returning to questions that have no easy answers. Tonight, as we've journeyed together to the very edges of human understanding, something curious has happened. We've discovered that the most profound questions don't diminish us with their impossibility, but somehow enlarge us, stretch our capacity for wonder beyond what we thought possible. There's a particular quality of silence that emerges when we truly absorb the scale of cosmic mystery. It's not the silence of emptiness, but of fullness, pregnant with all the possibilities we can never quite grasp. When we contemplate what lies beyond the observable universe, we enter into this rich silence, this space where words begin to fail and something deeper than language takes over. Consider how different this silence feels from the everyday quiet of a library or an empty room. This is cosmic silence, the hush that falls when finite minds brush against infinite mystery. It's the silence of deep space, of vast distances, of time scales so enormous that they make our entire civilization seem like a single heartbeat in an endless meditation. But within this cosmic silence, something extraordinary is happening. Your consciousness, that strange flickering flame of awareness that somehow emerges from the dance of atoms and energy, is participating in the universe's own contemplation of itself. Every thought you have about these impossible distances is the cosmos thinking about itself through the temporary arrangement of matter we call your mind. This participation changes the very nature of the mystery. We're not external observers puzzling over a distant phenomenon, but intimate participants in an ongoing cosmic conversation. The questions we ask about what lies beyond our observational limits ripple outward like concentric circles on a pond, touching regions of possibility we can never directly experience. There's something almost musical about this process, as if consciousness serves as a kind of cosmic instrument through which reality plays its own mysterious melodies. The notes we sound through our wondering create harmonies with the deep structures of existence itself, adding our small voices to a symphony so vast that no single ear could ever hear its full expression. Perhaps this is why questions about ultimate reality feel simultaneously scientific and spiritual, rational and mystical. They arise at the intersection of all our ways of engaging with existence, calling forth not just our analytical minds, but our capacity for awe, our ability to remain open to what exceeds our understanding. The ancient mystics spoke of a kind of learned ignorance, a sophisticated form of not knowing that was actually more profound than ordinary knowledge. They understood that some truths can only be approached through the abandonment of the usual grasping mind, through a willingness to rest in mystery without trying to resolve it into familiar categories. Our modern exploration of what lies beyond the observable universe brings us to a similar place. We've reached the limits of what telescopes can show us, what equations can describe, what any conceivable form of measurement might reveal. Beyond this point, we enter into that ancient territory of learned ignorance, where the most appropriate response to ultimate mystery is not frustrated incomprehension, but grateful wonder. This gratitude might seem strange at first. Why should we be grateful for limits, for boundaries to our understanding? But perhaps these limits are gifts to surprise us, to offer us experiences rather than restrictions, ways that reality preserves its capacity of genuine transcendence. Without mystery, without the unknown calling to us from beyond every horizon, existence might become predictable in ways that would drain it of its magic. The darkness beyond our cosmic horizon, then, isn't a wall blocking our progress, but an invitation into forms of engagement with reality that transcend the usual categories of knowing and not knowing. It's the darkness of creative potential, the fertile void from which all possibilities emerge and to which they eventually return. In contemplating this creative darkness, we discover something remarkable about the nature of consciousness itself. We are not separate from what we're trying to understand, but expressions of the same mysterious process that creates galaxies and black holes that weave space and time into the intricate tapestry we call reality. This recognition transforms our relationship with cosmic mystery from one of external curiosity to one of intimate participation. We're not trying to solve a puzzle external to ourselves, but exploring the very nature of the awareness that makes puzzles possible in the first place. The observer and the observed, the questioner and the question reveal themselves to be aspects of a single, undivided mystery. There's something profoundly restful about this recognition. The search for what lies beyond the observable universe becomes not a quest for distant information, but a return to the source of questioning itself, a homecoming to the place where wonder is born. We discover that what we were seeking in the far reaches of space has been intimately present all along in the very capacity for seeking. This doesn't diminish the cosmic mystery, but reveals its true scope. The same creative principle that might be spinning off infinite bubble universes in dimensions we can't imagine is also creating the thoughts and feelings that allow you to contemplate such possibilities. The micro and the macro, the infinitely small and the infinitely large, reveal themselves as movements in a single, seamless dance of existence. As you rest tonight in the gentle awareness of these vast mysteries, let yourself feel held by something larger than any particular answer or explanation. The universe that contains you is the same universe that extends beyond every conceivable boundary, that dreams itself into forms so strange and beautiful that no single consciousness could ever catalog them all. Your wondering about what lies beyond the edge of everything has brought you to the edge of everything within, to the place where personal consciousness touches the cosmic consciousness from which it emerges. In this touching, something beautiful happens. The boundaries between self and cosmos, between the known and the unknown, begin to soften like ice melting in the warmth of spring sunshine. Perhaps this softening is what sleep offers us each night, a temporary dissolution of the boundaries that normally organize our experience, a return to the undifferentiated source from which all experience arises. In dreams, we regularly visit realms as strange as anything that might exist beyond the observable universe, landscapes that follow their own impossible logic, stories that unfold according to rules that make perfect sense while we're dreaming them. The realm of dreams might be our most accessible analogy for what lies beyond our cosmic horizon. Just as dreams emerge from the mysterious depths of the sleeping mind according to principles we don't fully understand, the regions beyond our observational limits might emerge from depths of reality that no waking consciousness could ever fathom. But unlike dreams, which we eventually wake up from, the mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe remains permanently beyond the reach of any possible awakening. It's a dream from which reality itself never wakes, a story that consciousness tells itself without ever reaching the final chapter. This eternal quality of cosmic mystery might be its most beautiful characteristic. Unlike the temporary puzzles that occupy our days, The question of what lies beyond our universe remains forever fresh, forever capable of inspiring wonder in any consciousness that encounters it. It's a gift that keeps giving, a wellspring of awe that never runs dry. Tonight, as your own consciousness begins its nightly journey into the mysterious realm of sleep, carry with you the gentle awareness that you are part of this eternal mystery, both its questioner and its answer, both its seeker and its sought. In your wondering about what lies beyond the observable universe, the cosmos wonders about itself. In your peaceful acceptance of the unknowable, reality finds a moment of perfect rest. The darkness that gathers around you now is the same darkness that lies beyond the furthest galaxies, the same creative void from which all possibilities emerge. Rest in that darkness, knowing it's not empty but full, not absent but pregnant with infinite potential, not the end of the story, but the place where all stories begin and to which they lovingly return. Sleep well, dear traveler, and dream of spaces that exist beyond space, of times that flow outside of time, of the beautiful mystery that dances at the heart of all existence, forever revealing itself and forever preserving its own inexhaustible depths. The gentle mystery of what lies beyond our cosmic horizon offers us something rather extraordinary when we really stop to consider it. It provides a perfect counterbalance to our age of instant answers and immediate gratification. In a world where every question seems to have a Wikipedia page, every puzzle a YouTube tutorial, every mystery a quick Google search away, the realm beyond the observable universe stands as a monument to the beautiful impossibility of knowing everything. There's something almost medicinal about encountering a question so perfectly unanswerable. It reminds us that not every itch can be scratched, not every curiosity satisfied, not every wonder reduced to data points and explanations. The mystery preserves something essential about what it means to be human, that capacity to remain comfortably uncomfortable in the presence of the unknowable. Consider how this changes our relationship with uncertainty in general. Most of the time, we experience not knowing as a temporary inconvenience, a gap in our understanding that needs to be filled as quickly as possible. But the question of what lies beyond our observable universe invites us into a different kind of relationship with uncertainty, one where not knowing becomes a doorway rather than a wall, an opening rather than a limitation. This shift in perspective ripples through other areas of life as well. When we've genuinely absorbed the reality of cosmic mystery, the smaller uncertainties that usually trouble us begin to feel less urgent, less threatening. The unknown becomes less like an enemy to be conquered and more like a vast ocean to be explored, knowing we'll never reach its furthest shores. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about contemplating what lies beyond the observable universe is how it simultaneously humbles and elevates us. We are reminded of our cosmic insignificance, our tiny place in the vast scheme of things, the brief flicker of our individual existence against the backdrop of cosmic time. Yet we are also reminded that we are the part of the universe capable of asking these questions, the cosmos awakening to its own mystery through the strange alchemy of consciousness. This dual recognition of our smallness and our significance creates a peculiar kind of peace. We don't need to be important in any cosmic sense to find our lives meaningful. The very fact that we can contemplate infinity, that we can conceive of realms beyond our experience, that we can touch the impossible with our thoughts, makes us participants in something magnificent. There's also something wonderfully playful about our cosmic speculation. When we imagine bubble universes with different laws of physics, or realms where consciousness flows like weather, or dimensions where time has texture and space has flavor, we're engaging in a form of cosmic play. We're like children building sand castles on an infinite beach, creating temporary structures of meaning and beauty that may bear no resemblance to ultimate reality, but are precious for having been imagined. This playfulness isn't frivolous but fundamental. Play is how we explore possibilities, how we stretch beyond our current limitations, how we prepare for encounters with the unexpected. Our playful speculation about what lies beyond the observable universe might be preparing us, in ways we can't yet understand, for forms of reality that exceed our wildest imaginings. The questions themselves become a kind of prayer, not directed toward any particular deity, but offered to the mystery itself. When we ask what lies beyond the edge of everything, we're participating in a form of cosmic worship, honoring the vastness that contains us by acknowledging its inexhaustible nature. Our wondering becomes a way of saying thank you to existence for being so much more than we could ever comprehend. And maybe that gratitude is what transforms mere curiosity into something approaching wisdom. When we truly appreciate the gift of living in a reality so rich and mysterious that it can never be fully mapped, never be completely understood, never be reduced to any final explanation, something shifts in our relationship to existence itself. We move from trying to possess reality through understanding to being possessed by reality through wonder. This being possessed by wonder changes how we inhabit our daily lives. Colors seem more vivid when we remember their electromagnetic radiation interpreted by evolved neural circuits in beings made of stardust. Music becomes more moving when we recall that it's pressure waves in air creating patterns in brains that somehow give rise to the experience of beauty. The simple fact that we can feel love or recognize a friend's smile becomes miraculous when we consider the vast cosmic processes that had to unfold to make such experiences possible. The mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe, then, serves as a kind of cosmic tuning fork, helping us remember the proper pitch of awe in our engagement with existence. It reminds us that we live in the middle of a story so vast and strange that even our best scientific instruments can only glimpse its opening chapters. But perhaps most beautifully, this cosmic mystery connects us across all the boundaries that usually divide us. When we contemplate what lies beyond the edge of space, it doesn't matter what language we speak, what culture we come from, what beliefs we hold about other matters. We all share the same fundamental relationship to this ultimate unknown. We are all equally small, it's in the face of cosmic vastness, all equally amazed by the possibility of infinite realms beyond our perception. This shared amazement might be one of our species' most precious achievements. In a world often fractured by different answers to life's questions, we find unity in a question so large that it makes all our usual disagreements seem beautifully beside the point. The mystery of what lies beyond the observable universe belongs to all of us, and none of us unites us in our common humanity while connecting us to something infinitely larger than human concerns. As the night deepens around you and your thoughts naturally begin to slow and soften, let yourself rest in this shared mystery. You are connected through your wondering to every conscious being that has ever looked up at the stars and felt that mixture of awe and bewilderment that comes from recognizing our place in something so vast it defies comprehension. Your questions about what lies beyond the cosmic horizon make you part of an invisible community of wanderers that spans cultures, centuries, and possibly species. Somewhere in the observable universe, other conscious beings might be asking similar questions about their own cosmic boundaries, feeling the same mixture of humility and exhilaration that comes from contemplating the truly infinite. The realm beyond our observational limits remains forever hidden, but in our shared wondering about it, we create something visible and precious, a community bound not by answers, but by questions, not by certainty, but by the courage to remain open to what cannot be grasped. This community exists in the space between minds, in the resonance between consciousness and mystery, in the gentle recognition that some things are too beautiful to understand and too important to ignore. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, you carry with you not just your own questions about cosmic mystery, but the accumulated wonder of everyone who has ever gazed into the night sky and felt themselves in the presence of something infinitely larger than themselves. Your wondering joins the great conversation that consciousness has been having with existence since the first moment of self awareness, adding your unique voice to the cosmic symphony of questions that keeps reality alive to its own infinite potential. Sleep comes as a gentle reminder that consciousness itself is as mysterious as anything we might hope to find beyond the edge of space. Each night, we slip into states of awareness so different from our waking experience that they might as well be visits to other universes. In dreams, we regularly encounter impossible geometries, paradoxical narratives, forms of existence that follow rules we never learned and couldn't explain if we tried. Perhaps in our nightly journeys into the mystery of sleep, we're already touching something akin to what lies beyond the observable universe, already familiar with forms of reality that transcend the normal categories of space and time and causation. The boundary between the known and the unknowable might be less absolute than we imagine, crossed every night by every dreaming mind, traversed regularly by consciousness in its natural rhythm between different modes of being. Rest well, fellow traveler in the vast mystery, knowing that your questions about what lies beyond have brought you home to the deepest truth, that consciousness and cosmos are one mystery exploring itself through the strange and beautiful fact of awareness contemplating its own infinite context. In your peaceful acceptance of the unknowable, the universe finds a moment of perfect rest, and in that rest, all possibilities dance together in the gentle darkness where wonder never sleeps. Tonight, as consciousness begins its ancient dance with mystery, let me leave you with one final thought that has been whispering at the edges of our cosmic journey. It's something rather curious about the way wonder works, something that might explain why questions about what lies beyond the observable universe feel so oddly comforting rather than unsettling. You see, there's a particular quality to truly ultimate mysteries that sets them apart from the everyday puzzles that occupy our minds. When we encounter a locked door, we naturally want to find the key. When we see a wrapped present, we long to peek inside. These are mysteries that tease us with their solvability, that keep us awake at night, precisely because we sense that answers exist just beyond our current reach. But the realm beyond our cosmic horizon offers us something entirely different. It's so completely, magnificently beyond any possible resolution that it liberates us from the anxiety of almost knowing. There's no nagging sense that we should be able to figure this out if we just thought a little harder, stayed curious a little longer, built slightly better instruments. The mystery is so perfect in its unknowability that it becomes a kind of cosmic permission slip, allowing us to stop trying to solve everything and simply rest in the presence of the unsolvable. This permission might be one of wonder's greatest gifts to the human soul. In a culture obsessed with optimization and efficiency, with hacking and life improving and getting to the bottom of things, the question of what lies beyond the observable universe stands as a gentle monument to the beauty of not getting to the bottom of anything at all. Some mysteries, it whispers, are meant to remain mysterious, not because they're poorly constructed puzzles, but because they're perfect expressions of the inexhaustible nature of existence itself. Consider how this transforms the very texture of curiosity. When we wonder about these unreachable realms, we're not engaged in problem solving, but in something more like meditation, not trying to grasp, but learning to appreciate what cannot be grasped. It's curiosity without agenda, questioning without expectation, a pure form of attention that asks for nothing but the privilege of being amazed. There's something almost sacred about this kind of wondering, something that connects our modern scientific curiosity to the most ancient forms of reverence. When our prehistoric ancestors gathered around fires and told stories about the spirits that lived beyond the visible world, they were engaged in the same fundamental human activity we pursue when we speculate about bubble universes and higher dimensions. The tools have changed, the language has evolved, but the essential human encounter with the mysteriously infinite remains beautifully constant. This constancy suggests something profound about what we are as conscious beings. We are the creatures who ask questions too large for any single mind to answer, who conceive possibilities too vast for any individual lifetime to explore. This cognitive overreach, this persistent tendency to think thoughts bigger than our brains, might be our most distinctive characteristic and perhaps our most valuable contribution to the cosmic story. In our wondering about what lies beyond the observable universe, we serve as the cosmos's way of reaching toward its own edges, of touching what might be untouchable even to itself. We are reality's sense organs for the impossible, its way of maintaining a relationship with aspects of its own nature that might otherwise remain completely unacknowledged. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of this cosmic wondering is how it makes us citizens of multiple realms simultaneously. During the day, we inhabit the practical world of schedules and responsibilities, of problems that need solving and tasks that require completion. But in the quiet moments when we allow our minds to drift toward these ultimate questions, we become inhabitants of infinity, temporary residents of realms where different rules apply, where the impossible becomes a form of landscape we can actually explore through pure imagination. This dual citizenship enriches both worlds. The practical realm gains depth and perspective when viewed against the backdrop of cosmic mystery, while the mysterious realm gains warmth and humanity through being contemplated by minds that also know the texture of morning coffee and the sound of rain on windows. We are the bridge between the finite and the infinite, the place where everyday consciousness touches eternal mystery. As you settle into the approaching embrace of sleep, carry with you this gentle recognition that you are both utterly small in the cosmic scheme and utterly essential to its ongoing self discovery. Your questions about what lies beyond the edge of everything make you a participant in the universe's own process of self reflection, a temporary arrangement of matter that has achieved the remarkable ability to wonder about the context of its own existence. The darkness that surrounds you now is continuous with the darkness that lies beyond the furthest galaxies, the same creative void that has been giving birth to possibilities since the beginning of time. In that darkness, your consciousness rests like a small flame that has learned to contemplate the nature of fire itself, a brief flickering of awareness that somehow contains within itself the capacity to touch what no flame should be able to reach. Rest peacefully in this touching, this gentle contact between finite awareness and infinite mystery. Your wondering has been a form of cosmic service, a way of keeping the great questions alive for another day, another generation, another century of conscious beings who will look up at the night sky and feel themselves called towards something beautifully, eternally beyond their grasp. The realm beyond the observable universe remains forever hidden, but in your contemplation of it, you have made yourself visible to the mystery, recognizable to the very thing that cannot be recognized. In your questions, the cosmos has questioned itself. In your wonder, reality has wondered about reality. In your peaceful acceptance of the unknowable, the universe has found a moment of perfect rest. Sleep well, dear friend, and dream of spaces that exist beyond space, of times that flow outside of time, of the beautiful darkness where all possibilities dance together in the eternal silence that gives birth to all sounds, all stories, all the gentle whispers of science that drift through the night like stardust settling on the quiet shores of consciousness. Tomorrow the mystery will still be there, patient as starlight, waiting to be wondered about by minds that have learned to find in questions themselves a kind of answer, in not knowing a form of the deepest knowledge, in the beautiful impossibility of understanding everything, a perfect reason to understand anything at all. And perhaps that's where we'll leave it tonight, at the edge of everything we can know, looking out into the gentle darkness that holds more than we could ever imagine, grateful for the questions that brought us here and content to let them carry us wherever consciousness goes when it finally learns to rest in the arms of the eternally mysterious, the forever unknowable, the beautifully, infinitely beyond. As we find ourselves suspended between the known and the unknowable, there's something rather extraordinary that happens to time itself when we contemplate these cosmic mysteries. Minutes can feel like hours as your mind stretches toward impossible distances, or hours can collapse into what feels like moments when you're truly absorbed in the contemplation of infinite possibility. It's as if the very act of wondering about what lies beyond the observable universe creates its own temporal rhythm, its own gentle cadence that exists somewhere outside the usual flow of seconds and minutes. This temporal strangeness isn't accidental, but seems woven into the very fabric of deep contemplation itself. When we engage with questions that have no earthly answers, something shifts in our relationship to the passage of time. The urgent tick-tock of daily schedules fades into background noise, replaced by something more like the slow breathing of geological ages, the patient pulse of cosmic evolution itself. Consider how different this makes the experience of being present. Usually, presence means paying attention to what's immediately around us, the texture of the moment we're currently inhabiting. But when we contemplate what lies beyond our cosmic horizon, presence takes on an entirely different quality. We become present to absence, attentive to what cannot be attended to, fully here with what is forever there beyond any possible experience. This paradoxical presence might be consciousness exploring one of its most sophisticated capacities, the ability to be intimately engaged with what remains utterly remote. It's like learning to love something you can never touch, to know something you can never meet, to feel at home in territories you can never visit. There's something both heartbreaking and healing about this kind of relationship, this way of being connected to what must always remain separate. The healing quality might emerge from how this cosmic contemplation puts our personal struggles into perspective without diminishing their importance. When we truly absorb the scale of what might exist beyond our observational limits, our individual worries don't become trivial, but rather take on a kind of precious fragility. They matter precisely because they're so small, so temporary, so utterly unique in the vast expanse of cosmic possibility. There's something almost protective about the way ultimate mystery holds our smaller concerns. Like a vast cathedral that makes whispered prayers feel more rather than less significant, the contemplation of infinite realms beyond our universe seems to create a space where even our most mundane experiences become touched with something sacred. The simple fact that you can feel worried or hopeful or curious becomes miraculous when held against the backdrop of cosmic immensity. But perhaps what's most remarkable is how this contemplation seems to strengthen rather than weaken our connections to each other. When we recognize that we're all equally small in the face of cosmic mystery, equally amazed by possibilities we can never verify, equally humbled by questions too large for any individual mind to contain, something beautiful happens to our sense of shared humanity. The differences that usually separate us, our various beliefs and backgrounds and ways of understanding the world, begin to feel like variations in a single theme rather than fundamental contradictions. We're all temporary arrangements of matter that have somehow achieved the capacity to wonder about the nature of arrangement itself, all brief expressions of the same mysterious process that creates galaxies and consciousness alike. This recognition doesn't erase our individuality, but places it in a context that makes it more rather than less precious. Each conscious being becomes a unique window through which the universe glimpses its own infinite nature, a one-time only expression of reality's inexhaustible creativity. Your particular way of wondering about what lies beyond the observable universe has never existed before and will never exist again in exactly the same form. There's something deeply moving about this cosmic uniqueness. In a universe that might contain infinite variations on every possible theme, Your specific combination of curiosity, imagination, and awareness represents something genuinely unrepeatable. The questions you ask, the way you hold mystery, the particular quality of attention you bring to these ultimate concerns, all of this contributes something irreplaceable to the ongoing conversation between consciousness and cosmos. This irreplaceability extends to this very moment, this specific instance of awareness contemplating its own context. Right now, as these words create patterns in your mind, as your thoughts drift toward the edges of the knowable, something is happening that has never happened before in the entire history of the universe and will never happen again in exactly this way. It's a moment of cosmic significance disguised as quiet contemplation. The disguise is important because it protects the significance from becoming overwhelming. If we fully grasped the cosmic importance of every moment of consciousness, of every instance of wonder meeting mystery, we might become paralyzed by the weight of it all. The gentle, unassuming quality of our cosmic wondering allows us to participate in something magnificent without being crushed by its magnificence. This protection might be built into the very structure of mystery itself. The most profound truths that seem to reveal themselves only to minds that approach them with a kind of relaxed attention, a gentle curiosity that doesn't try too hard to grasp or possess or pin down. The realm beyond the observable universe offers itself to our contemplation precisely because we can never possess it, never reduce it to data we can file away and forget about. In this offering and receiving, something like a cosmic friendship develops. We learn to appreciate mystery for its own sake rather than for what we might extract from it. We develop what we might call a disinterested interest, a form of caring that doesn't need to possess what it cares about. It's the kind of love that parents learn to have for their adult children, or that gardeners develop for wild spaces they tend but don't try to control. This disinterested interest might be consciousness at its most mature, awareness that has learned to appreciate rather than appropriate, to celebrate rather than capture. When we contemplate what lies beyond our cosmic horizon with this quality of attention, we participate in a form of cosmic courtesy, honoring the mystery by not trying to reduce it to something more manageable. The courtesy extends both ways. The mystery seems to honor us back by remaining mysterious, by never disappointing us with solutions that would end the conversation. It maintains its infinite depth precisely so that consciousness always has something to reach toward, always has new depths to explore, always has reasons to keep wondering. And so, dear fellow traveler, in this vast cosmic mystery, we find ourselves at journey's end, though perhaps it's more accurate to say we've simply paused at another way station in the endless exploration of wonder itself. Tonight, we ventured to the very edges of human understanding, touched the boundaries of the knowable, and discovered that the most profound gift isn't answers, but the capacity to remain beautifully, peacefully curious about what cannot be grasped. The realm beyond our observable universe remains forever hidden, as mysterious now as when we began our gentle voyage. But in our contemplation of it, something extraordinary has occurred. We've remembered what it means to wonder without needing to solve, to question without demanding resolution, to find in mystery itself a kind of cosmic companionship that asks nothing of us but our willingness to remain amazed. Sleep well tonight, knowing that you carry within you the same infinite mystery you've been contemplating, and that in your dreams you'll visit realms as strange and wonderful as anything that might exist beyond the furthest stars. Until we meet again in this quiet corner of wonder, may your curiosity remain as boundless as the darkness that holds all possibilities, and may you always find peace in the beautiful, eternally unknowable depths of existence itself.